I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube Jewel Saints. I'm joined by Lisa Mansfield off of Twitter. We're here to discuss the costumes that they wore at Barnabas's costume party in the show. And we're going to talk about 1795 and the costumes they wore there and a bunch of seances. So
Mhm.
Barnabas decides to throw this little costume party of the period of 1795. He's coming dressed as himself. Essentially, no one knows that yet.
Yeah.
You have you have Victoria Winters dressed as Josette. You
Of
have
course.
Carolyn dressed as Millicent Collins. You have Roger dressed as Joshua. Elizabeth dressed as Naomi. They don't have David at this costume party, so
hmm
there's no David Collins.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of this?
Well, the first time I saw the episode was years ago, and then recently I watched it. It's hysterical because Barnabas is being so sneaky, and he's throwing the costume party to manipulate and seduce Victoria because she loves all things about the past. Of course, I remember Elizabeth Collins Stoddard giving her a warning that you keep digging into the past, it might not be all sunshine and lollipops.
Yeah.
And the costume party kind of like, yeah, Barnabas is up to something. We all know that, and I love that because then she sees little Sarah, the ghost girl, and I'm still convinced that she can see Sarah because Victoria is a Collins. Spoiler alert on her mother's side. It's a really great episode. It's just so much fun. I absolutely love it.
I find,
Absolutely.
I find it really interesting that I think you're right. He is doing this to, sort of smooth
Mhm.
Vicky, but
Yeah.
he also it's really interesting because Vicky wants Burke to be invited and
Yeah, that's
Burke
right.
that
That's
wouldn't come.
right. Yeah.
So Barnabas, gives him the Jeremiah Collins, and it's not it's not Mitchell Ryan anymore. It's the other actor,
Yeah, Anthony George. Yeah.
Anthony George.
Yeah.
And I agree with something my buddy Patrick McRae said that if this were Mitchell Ryan still played, he probably wouldn't have showed up.
No,
He would have just
no.
showed up in a suit. But they have him show up as they have Anthony George show up as Jeremiah Collins. And this is really interesting because from what we know about Jeremiah, he's sort of built as Joshua only begins to get mentioned like during certain moments, like
Mm-hmm.
leading, like prior to the
Yeah, yeah.
prior to the 1795. Because what we've all heard over the years, like from the beginning, is Jeremiah built. Jeremiah picked this
Mm-hmm.
spot. He picked Widow
Yeah,
High
yeah.
on top of this hill. Jeremiah built
Mm-hmm.
the house. They're all
Mm-hmm.
descendants of Jeremiah Collins. They don't
Yeah.
have Joshua
Mm-hmm.
until later on, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
and it's really interesting that they do this because they also paint Jeremiah sort of as this mean Collins. So
Mm-hmm.
you're sort of given that false pretense, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And here's Anthony George. He's not Jeremiah yet. He's in the
No,
costume.
no.
He's gonna be playing Jeremiah, which is
Mm-hmm.
he does a great job.
Oh, he was wonderful. Absolutely
Yeah,
wonderful.
but
Yeah.
what did you think of they decide to conduct a séance at the old
Mm-hmm.
house, and
I love it.
it
So
was
Barnabas.
this is only the
So sneaky.
second séance at the old house,
Mm-hmm.
and you know Barnabas he was not too happy about that séance either.
Well, obviously, because Sarah is there.
Yeah,
Little the little ghost girl. course, Barnabas is afraid. You're like, oh no, they're going to find out my secret. I mean, Barnabas goes to all lengths to keep his secret. And like the one person, well, she's a ghost, but the one person who can tell his secret is there. And
Yeah.
of course, then I remember Victoria getting possessed by Josette. And
Yeah.
I remember the look on Barnabas's face, like, oh no, she's gonna tell on me. You know,
Yeah.
I love it. It just all the sneakiness and yeah, I mean Barnabas is just he's too much. The underhandedness, all the like all these plots and schemes he comes up with, and sometimes, well, most of the time they always backfire. But I love you know he just goes all out, to have this costume party from hell, as I like to call it, because on one hand he's trying to seduce Victoria, on the other hand he's doing all these great things. He knows that she loves all that stuff, that the history and all that, and then eventually he just ends up falling in love with her in a way,
Yeah.
despite that's not even the point. you know I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
he's having the party too to show off the old house, how it's been
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
reconstructed. And the interesting part too is he still doesn't know about Sarah at this point yet, which is
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. And
Yeah.
what? Give me one moment, please. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
My son wanted me to get him a blanket, but
Oh.
so he doesn't know about Sarah yet. Even when Victoria says he saw a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
Barnabas looks up at the balcony and he's sort of perplexed. He's like, he knows the only little girl who grew up with him, who lived in that house,
Mm-hmm.
was his sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like, girl. And, in his mind, he doesn't say it with his words, but he's selling it with his face.
Mm-hmm.
And
He
after
was
that,
good at that.
yeah, that's where sort of things end. But it was really, you sort of get with this too, is you get a sneak peek of 1790, how everybody
Mm-hmm.
is going to
Yeah.
look in 1795 for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. And it's really cool. It's not, I would dare say the costume party of the period isn't a
Mm-hmm.
throwaway at all for Dark Shadows. It's
Yeah.
really well
Yeah.
set up,
Oh, yeah. It's
and I
beautiful.
love the dirty look he gives uh, Burke Devlin when he walks in as Jeremiah.
Oh, I know. It's like the competition. The
It's like
competition's here.
if looks could kill, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. It's really funny. He just wants to, take him out. You know?
Do you think
Barnabas, the mob boss.
he kept sort of being in denial about a little girl
Mm-hmm.
being around too?
Yeah.
Because when Willie tells him, like, prior to that, well, you saw, he goes, you saw young David. He goes, no, 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 I saw a little girl. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Willie's absolutely sure what he saw.
Mm-hmm.
And Barnabas is like, you couldn't have seen a little girl around here. Like, Barnabas is like in denial that his sister's ghost is like around, and
Mm-hmm.
he's getting perplexed. Like, okay, what's going on here? Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't know about her yet. But
Yeah.
when the
Yeah.
seance happens in the Great House to send Vicky back, he has seen her. He's talked to her, and she's told
Mm-hmm.
him, hey, you got to learn, you got to change. You taught me right and wrong. You need to learn it back again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, it's one of the most heartfelt scenes between a
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Well, Sarah's the only it's the only one that can, reach Barnabas and his humanity. Because when you think about it, and I've thought about it because I have way too much time on my hands. I think I did read about it too. I mean, he's in that coffin for like 175 years.
Yeah.
And when he comes out, like that little bit of humanity that's left of him, is gone. I mean, he comes out, he's it's just gone. It's just gone. He's a complete and total, you know, um, hairs all over the place. He's a complete and total monster, for lack of a better word. But that thankfully, Jonathan Frid played the role so well and so beautifully, and he was able to make us, feel for Barnabas. But again, Sarah, can really get to Barnabas. I mean, she can reach him. She can, make him feel guilty and make him stop and think about what he's doing. Again, he comes out of that coffin, like, Barnabas, the person is gone, all that humanity. And Sarah can reminds him of that humanity. It reminds him when he was, a human. That's my take on it.
I had asked this to Susie. Where does, like, to me, 1795, like, the journey to me begins with the death of Dave Woodard.
Yeah,
Where does it
yeah.
begin for you?
I'm sorry. What was that?
For me,
Turn
like
that off.
1795, but like before the seance, before they go back, to me, 1795 really, to me,
Yeah.
begins with the death of Dave Woodard. Because
Oh,
that's
okay.
when they've decided, okay, we're taking this somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We're not
Oh, yeah. I
we're
remember
not
that. That's
killing
pretty awful.
Barnabas.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, yeah. When he killed, well, they were both kind of responsible for killing Dave Woodard. That was pretty deep.
I
Yeah.
think if I think if Julia had stuck the needle in, there would have
Mm-hmm.
been no getting her character back to for
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
because it's weird because this whole time up until that point she's been so, like, she has tried to poison Barnabas and stuff, but she's also been his right hand man in the sense of outside of Willie Loomis. But
Henchman. Yeah.
here she is. She's Barnabas takes the needle and kills Woodard. I think if it were Julia, there'd be no
Mm-hmm.
rooting for her. But they, I've
Oh,
had the
yeah.
writers
Yeah.
have Barnabas sort of kill Woodard off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Again, it just speaks to his, willingness to go all out, to keep his secret. And yeah, that does set everything up because in 1795 we get to see, a human Barnabas,
yeah,
and it is a shock, even when I still watch the episodes and that timeline, and you're like, whoa, he's got color in his face, he's actually, nice. Well, not that he wasn't nice, but you could tell. And Jonathan was great playing, both halves of Barnabas. Yeah, he was pretty good. He was amazingly good. Yeah.
yeah. Victoria Winters, they conduct a séance in the Great House.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Victoria Winters, Roger Collins, Elizabeth, Carolyn,
Mm-hmm.
Barnabas, and this is well after Bert Devlin's death, and
Yeah. Nice.
you know,
Yeah.
death. Um, I
Yeah.
would air
It's
quotes. I don't believe Bert's death, but
well, Barnabas had something to do with it, I'm sure.
well, his
Yeah.
plane crashed. His plane crashed, but
Poor baby.
now what I find most interesting, like during the seances,
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn fakes it, like that Sarah's
Yeah.
talking through
Yeah.
her, but quickly Sarah jumps into Victoria, and
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn tries to continue to fake it, Barnabas stops her, and he's like, "No." And I think he, at that moment, he's coming to the realization, okay, whatever's gonna be is gonna be. Let it ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I love
Yeah.
that from Fred. It's it's so
Mm-hmm.
subtle, but it's so important to the storytelling of Barnabas too.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to set, like right before they send Victoria Winters back, before
Mm-hmm.
we jump into 1795, I want to get your thoughts on this. He, in episode 361, there, Dr. Julie Hoffman was in the mausoleum,
Mm-hmm.
and we hear a woman sobbing, but then we hear a wicked woman laughing.
Oh yeah,
Did
yeah, yeah.
did you think this was Angelique?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think, she can, well, we all know she can transcend time. I mean,
Right.
she showed up as, you Roger's, wife, and
Cassandra.
yeah, because with the black wig. Yeah, I think it was Victoria. I think, yeah, obviously Vicky was meant to go back there again. My view is that because she's a Collins, there's Elizabeth's daughter. Spoiler alert. Um, yeah, I thought it was good. I'm still trying to figure out how did she go back? How did that happen? Was it some rip in the fabric of time, or? But obviously, yeah. I mean, Sarah was the one that sent her back, and she switched places with Phyllis Wick,
Mhm.
and then the events just started happening. And Josette arrives, and it all just like a domino effect. And I know that well, I think that Sarah wanted her to go back to prevent all this tragedy from happening, and it still happens. Except, well, Daniel Collins was saved, and the her, all the Collins, he's the great whatever grandfather of Elizabeth and Roger. But I mean, the way they do it, is, I think, Dark Shadows did set a precedent for future sci-fi and fantasy and horror, storytelling in the years after that. Because I don't think there was anything really like that on television before Dark Shadows. I mean, there would be no, Buffy the Vampire Slayer or any of that if it hadn't been for, Dark Shadows and Dan Curtis. But it was amazing. It was amazing. And every time I see that episode, I'm like yelling at the television, like, Victoria, shut up, stop telling him stuff. She just can't help herself. Victoria just can't help herself. She's gotta go and say, "Oh, Josette's gonna do this, and this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen." But it had to happen. Victoria had to go through all that so she could get back, to her time. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And I love seeing everybody as their 18th century counterparts. But it's like, well, did they really look like that, or is it Victoria seeing them as the modern day Collins family? It's an interesting thing to think about. It's interesting. Yeah, I have to wonder if
I
they
think
really did.
I think they did look like that for their because when you really watch the characters of 1795,
Yeah.
not the characters of the 60s, and neither should they be. And really, the best case example of this is how much of a prick Joshua is. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he is
Yeah.
he's worse than what Roger was in the beginning. And I mean,
Yeah.
and Gordon, a friend of mine, Gordon said this, that to Joshua, Barnabas and Josette's marriage is an investment, and he's
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
not only here, that's the thing. He knows that Barnabas and Josette are going to be married, But at the same time, he's over here trying to line up his brother with his cousin Millicent.
Yeah.
So he's trying to arrange two marriages at once. And Jeremiah
Yeah.
is wanting none of that, which is amazing. And it's like,
Hmm.
so here's Joshua. To him, it's about the business. It's about, hey, this is
Yeah. Yeah.
money. So he wants it to happen. It's why he's not broke up when when Josette marries his brother Tim. It's like, oh, we still got the business, we're good.
Yeah, you still got the money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him. It's like, okay, my son's gonna be in a duel with my brother, but
Hmm.
no, he
Yeah.
and to Naomi, I wouldn't Naomi like as Elizabeth. She's very much her own character. She's drinking a lot, but she's also bold and not afraid to challenge people around her.
Yeah.
So her sister-in-law Abigail, who's a bit of a religious nut,
Oh yeah,
and
Abigail. Oh my God.
I think one of the
She's too
best
much.
ones too is Joel Carruthers as Lieutenant Nathan Forbes, who he's this completely different character who's
Oh yeah.
living
Yeah.
in this time where here's this woman who he doesn't know who's hugging him, calling him Joe. He's like, I don't know who Joe is, but
Oh,
I'll
Victoria.
be
Yeah.
whoever you want.
Being awfully
And
forward.
it's like wow. And she,
Oh,
she smacks him, and it's
I love it. I love it.
right. I think that's the interesting thing too when she's like not wanting to accept she's gone back in time,
Mm-hmm.
and reality really hits her in the face when the wedding invitations are read out loud by Lieutenant Nathan Forbes.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Year of our Lord 1795, the wedding of Josette to pray, and Barnabas
Mm-hmm.
Collins,
Mm-hmm.
Victoria faints." So,
Mm-hmm.
what did you think of? We saw the costumes that got Barnabas's costume party.
Uh,
Now they have them. We're in
yeah.
1795. What did you think of them in color?
Oh my God. No, I did living history for the 18th century. I've worn, costumes from the 18th century. Um, the costumes are all over the place. It may have been, you know, strictly for the storytelling and to set, the mood. They may have chose certain looks for certain reasons. Like a lot of costume designers for historical dramas, dramas or whatever movies set in a particular time period. Some costume designers will play around, like Bram Stoker's Dracula, Gary Oldman. That Dracula is supposed to be 1890 something or whatever, but what Winona Ryder is wearing is from the 1880s. So, um, I mean, the first off, I'll focus on Naomi because she's the biggest, as far as costume. Her gown is 30 years out of date.
Man,
It's 30 years out of date. Um, it's basically something that Marie Antoinette would have worn at Versailles, although it's cut very differently. There's no shape to it. I mean, no proper undergarments. And I watched, and I'm like, why is she wearing a gown that's so old fashioned when she has all that money? Well, Josh was probably cheap, you know. But it's like, well, it could just represent who she is. Who Naomi's like stuck in the past.
man.
She's got a horrible husband, Joshua Collins, who makes her drink. So it just seems like she's stuck in the past, and that when she was a young, beautiful, you know, um, old world lady. Some like I'll say about now the menswear is iffy too. Barnabas, his look is very like 1812, 1814. It's not from 1795 at all. And Angelique is wearing dresses from the same time period, like 1812, 1814. Um, Now Nathan Forbes, his friend, what's her name? The I don't want to say, doxy, what they called them back then, hang around the docks. I think it's Maud. Um, her dress is from the right time period. What she's wearing is accurate. Now when Josette shows up, which it cracks me up because she's wearing a historically accurate dress, but then her little fascinator is like a tricorn hat. It's something that Marie Antoinette actually wore. Oh my god! But Millicent Collins, she's wearing gowns from the early 1800s, not from the year 1795. So again, I think it's just the costume designer probably just wasn't so focused on historical accuracy, but just setting the mood, setting the look. And it's still gothic. I mean, when they start all wearing black and Josette's black veil, and it's still very. It shows that the 18th century can be gothic, can have a gothic aesthetic, not just the 19th century. So I really like how they blend the 18th century with goth, that aesthetic. But again, Naomi Collins, her outfits, I mean, they're beautiful. The costumes are, that's one thing, Dark Shadows did very, very well, was historical costuming. I mean, the costumes are absolutely, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. The sets, the furniture, and absolutely gorgeous. And they went all out. They spent quite a bit of moolah, on bringing the 18th century to life. I love Josette's room. Oh my god, the
Yeah.
furniture, the oh my god, I just absolutely love her room. I mean, if you have to be kidnapped by a vampire just to have that room, it's like okay, I'll be kidnapped by Barnabas if I can live in that room, with that bed. Although I'm not letting Barnabas know. It's not an invitation for him to kidnap me, but it's gorgeous. The whole aesthetic is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, I mean, again, the look, the costumes are all over the place. Millicent's wearing like a Regency top hat in a traveling habit, but it's not from the year 1795. And the Countess de Prey, she does have a few looks, but her main look looks like it's supposed to be a traveling habit that you wear to travel, but it's very military in style, which was always popular, for women. But actually looks more like a riding habit, like she's out riding somewhere with her cravat and how it's cut. It is very 1795, but I'm like, why does she keep wearing this like riding slash traveling habit? Like she's wearing it like every day. But she's also wearing, more early 19th century gowns. But I mean, the hair too is, I think they tried to recreate certain hairstyles, but it's the 1960s and the hair pieces don't match the hair that they're actually on their head. And the makeup's very, again, it's very Marie Antoinette, with all the white powder and which I don't think they wore that in the year 1795. I mean, they wore makeup, but I don't think by then they were wearing such heavy makeup. But yeah, it's a great storyline. And 1795 is just the best. It's right up there. I like the 1840 storyline too.
Yeah.
My top. storylines for Dark Shadows. But again, I give them props for the costumes. I absolutely do. They're
What
absolutely stunning.
yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the character of Ben Stokes?
Oh gosh, Ben. Poor Ben. He can't get a break. He's an indentured servant, working for a total jerk, Joshua, and then Angelique, puts a spell on him. He becomes her servant, but then he's friends with Barnabas. Barnabas, as a human, treats him very kindly. But after Barnabas is cursed, he's rough and Ben up. But at least he got his freedom in the end, and could have. But I like Ben. He really does his best. When you're working for a family like that, I don't blame him for yeah. But I'm glad he got freed, and I'm glad I mean he's not you know I mean he's nice. I do think Ben is nice, and he does try his best to get along in that society as an indentured servant.
Yeah. I think it's
And
really interesting that Angelique recruits him, like puts him under a
because
spell, which
he's
is
on the
like,
low run of the ladder.
really cool. And it's interesting as she's gathering stuff up to turn him into a cat, Joshua into a cat.
Oh, that was awesome.
And he's like, why can't you turn him into a jackass instead? I'd like to take that jackass out into the woods.
I know.
I'm like, and Angelique's like, Ben. I'm like, no, I'm with Ben on this one.
I
Like,
know, right?
do it, do it.
Yeah.
There's some revenge. You can tell there's clearly some revenge
Oh yeah.
fantasies going on in Ben's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. I mean, it's 18th century. I mean, they treated servants horribly, and well, if you're going for historical accuracy, um, the Collins family had other servants. They would have had, you know, um, they would have had slave. They would have practiced slavery too. Um, so, which, I mean, of course, they didn't show it back then, but yeah, they, I like that Ben just, gets his freedom, and he's allowed to live a better life, live a better life.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's really. I love how the fact of when Barnabas goes to Ben and goes, you said you couldn't speak it. I taught
yeah,
you how to write,
yeah,
write the witch's name. And when
yeah,
puts V, then he puts the A for Angelique.
yeah,
It's really a
yeah.
cool scene to see that.
Yeah, I like, that, we got to see another side to Barnabas, before Barnabas, was cursed.
Yeah,
And yeah, yeah, I like that he's nice to Ben. I mean, he still tries to be nice to Ben after he's cursed. Um, but then it just goes all south. It goes south. It goes south very, very quickly.
what?
And it's kind of sad in a way to see that happen to Barnabas. It is sad, because he wasn't that bad of a guy. Although he when Victoria shows up the first time that she arrives in that time period, and he's kind of like hitting on her, like he thinks she's very attractive, and he's like, oh, yeah, where'd you come from? Like, oh, Barnabas. Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting that you get to find out that Barnabas and Angelique had a relationship in Martinique.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, I have Laura Parker's books, so I have her books. Well, I'm kind of on team Angelique because because well, I'm on Team Barnabas too, but it's like if Barnabas had just been honest to Josette and just told the truth, this whole thing could have been avoided. But if Angelique had just been honest with Josette and told the truth, God. Oh my God. Yeah, Angelique, I kind of feel bad for her too. It's like, well, you could be using your powers for good, and you could just, dump Barnabas and live a happy life.
she,
I'm
she
awful.
she didn't want anybody but Barnabas. So
I
uh,
know, I
t-
know.
this
Like,
is this is what happens
I
when
know,
two people hook up on a beach in Martinique. That's what happens.
I
But
know, I know. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, Barnabas had, I don't know what kind of like, just women just like, it's Barnabas, Um, but yeah, I just think it all could have been avoided if they just had more perspective.
what do you,
Oh my God, it's terrible.
it's really interesting to see how what Angelique does and puts Josette and Jeremiah under this spell, causing them to get married, and then the duel. And Angelique's not able to talk Barnabas out of this duel. And she gives him this medallion because she realizes, hey, this guy I love, he can't shoot worth shit. Um, but what do
Mhm,
you think of all that? She goes to the extreme of getting them married, but she did
mhm.
not account for a duel.
No, no, Angelique, she's got tunnel vision. It's all about Barnabas.
Yeah,
It's all about sticking it to Josette and ruining her life. And she thinks, well, if I have Josette marry Jeremiah, and Jeremiah and Barnabas are related. That's his uncle, and it's so convoluted. She really just can't see the bigger picture. She's so focused on getting revenge and getting Barnabas and all this other stuff. It's like, oh yeah, she wasn't thinking about the consequences, which is the duel,
yeah,
and then Jeremiah getting turned into a zombie after getting shot and killed, and but that still didn't get her Barnabas. She has to blackmail Barnabas.
yeah,
Oh my God, it's a marrying her. It's too funny,
yeah.
too funny.
If she cures Sarah, he'll marry
Yeah,
her, and she does because she's the one that put that on her anyway.
yeah,
And it's like, oh wow, so now he's gonna marry her, and he does. I mean, Barnabas. I give Barnabas credit; he lives up to his
yeah,
word.
yeah,
And then, like slowly but
yeah,
surely, like he learned once Reverend Trask does the exorcism of the house, and Victoria runs out.
yeah.
He's heard Angelique saying these words, and he's like, "What? Like Angelique?" And
Oh
it's
yeah, Angelique.
I love, to me, the shooting of the pistol at Angelique, her collapsing, her putting the curse on him. It's really a great sequence. What did you think
Mm.
about it?
Oh God, the curse.
Yeah.
Um, I it's creepy. It's creepy. Because we all know what's gonna happen, to Barnabas. It's like, oh God, it's going down. That's always my reaction with the vampire curse. Like, oh my God, and there's no way of stopping it. There's no way of stopping it, no matter what. It's gonna happen. And it's like, oh my God, it just I think, when I watch, I just get so like, wow, just glued to the television.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's pretty shocking. Except, well, the rubber, the rubber bat, the bat. Oh God, the bat, the bat's funny. I love the little bat, on the string. And they don't, with Dark Shadows, it's always played so seriously. I mean, that they're doing it basically live. You know that the budget for wasn't the best for except for the costumes and the sets, but everything else kind of got shortchanged. And Jonathan Frid, I mean, he goes all out. He's very, it's very serious. It's very, creepy, and it's gothic, um, and when Barnabas is, laying in bed, and he's going. We all know he's going to turn into a vampire. Us fans, we know that, every time we
Yeah.
watch it. And of course, Angelique's, oh crap, this is bad. I gotta do something, but she can't reverse it. She can't stop it, from happening. And it's like, oh god, we all know that Barnabas is gonna turn into this monster, this soulless creature, undead creature. And again, it's sad. It's sad because Barnabas starts out with so much hope and so much promise for the future, and it all goes goes to heck. Yeah, yeah. But Barnabas is a vampire. Pretty intense. Pretty intense, I have to say. Yeah, yeah. Pretty intense. Yeah, yeah.
I think that there's this moment too that when Sarah dies,
Oh
like
yeah. Oh
before Sarah's death, because that's the thing too. Like going into 1795, you're sort of like Victoria Winters. You know certain things.
yeah, yeah.
So, and you're wondering, you know, as you've watched so many things already change for the bad, and you know Sarah's
Mhm.
death is going to come, and she sees Barnabas, and she, she
Yeah.
she stays outside. She gets sick, but once she's
Poor,
dying and in
poor
her bed,
Sarah.
Barnabas visits her
Yeah,
and hugs her, and she
yeah.
says, "I
Good
love
stuff.
you, Barnabas," and dies.
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking.
It is. It is. Again, there's still some. It is very sad, and you just can't help but cry. And Sharon was so amazing, as even at she was like, I think, 10 years old, as Sarah Collins. She was fantastic,
Yeah.
and but there's still some humanity left in Barnabas. But like I said before, when he's locked in that coffin for 175 years, that humanity's gone. That humanity's gone. But he shows that with with his little sister. He does. And of course Barnabas. Not that he doesn't feel any guilt. Of course he feels. He always feels some sort of guilt, and he doesn't like being a vampire. So I have to give him. Yeah, I have to say
What
that.
what did you think of Reverend Trask?
Oh, I hate him. I love Jerry Lacey though. But as Reverend Trask, I mean, he was hysterical. But you just want to slap him, like Victoria did. It's like, shut up, go away. Him and Abigail, that tag team. They just love terrorizing poor Victoria. Um, I mean, Jerry Lacey was, he was so smarmy and so smug, as Trask. And we all know he's a fake. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He's a leftover from the Salem witch trials. Way back, right? I love him and I hate him. Um, it just he's such a fraud.
Yeah.
He's making stuff up as he goes along. I think. And I just think he likes tormenting young women. He's a creep. He's a real creep. He's a hypocrite. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just
It's
total hypocrite.
it's really interesting how he's playing to Abigail's,
Oh yeah.
paranoia. And
Oh yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's more paranoia for Abigail, but Trask is sort of is playing off of it,
Yeah.
feeding
He's a
it.
con artist. Yeah.
And right, he's not really this religious person. Like he
No.
he
No.
he is a religious person, but he's not as legitimate as he says he is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to see this because Angelique isn't the only antagonist, but
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
antagonist,
Mm-hmm.
in the story is really important, and it makes Vicky's witch trial all the more sort of like surreal and heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
here's the thing, like we all knew
Poor Vicky.
Victoria's gonna tell the truth, like no
I
matter
know she
like
can't help it.
like this woman has
Right.
always told the truth. So the truth is going to come out of her mouth about I'm from another time, and I'm thinking,
Poor
just
Vicky.
just for once, I love you to death, Vicky. I love you to death. I'm your biggest fan. But for the love of God, lie your ever loving ass off. It's like she
Well,
does,
yeah, she doesn't. Yeah,
she doesn't, and it's
I
like
know.
when she tells the truth, it's like, oh God,
I
why?
know. Poor Vicky. Yeah, she's so. Yeah, yeah. She's so honest and so truthful, like you said. And she doesn't. It doesn't. She doesn't get it, even when she's in jail. Even when she knows she's gonna, die. It still doesn't register with her that this is another time period. Well, maybe it does at the end. It's like, yeah, this is not the 1960s. This is a different time period. I mean, she tries to, blend in, or she tries to make the best of it. But again, no, she can't help herself. She can't help herself. She has to tell the truth.
I think
You
it.
know, yeah, yeah, she has to. Poor Vicky.
I think it. Like
I love her.
once she woke up in the bed and she realized, okay, I am
Uh,
1795. But
yeah.
there's a moment in the jailhouse where Peter Bradford is like telling her, stuff, and she's like, "It's all a dream. Wake me up. It's all a nightmare." And he smacks her, like to
Oh, I
back
know.
to reality. And it's not to be mean. It's like,
No,
oh,
no.
don't run from this. Like I
Yeah,
understand how you feel, and
yeah,
it's a really great moment that Christine and Kara both pointed out
yeah.
in the shadows. Shout out to them. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it's really a great moment. And what did you think
Hmm.
about Roger Davis's Jeff Clark?
I'm not a fan.
Sorry, Peter Bradford. Sorry.
I'm not a fan. I like the other Jeff Clark from the Revival series. I think it's Michael Wise. I like him a little. Well, Peter Bradford. I like the other one. I don't. I'm not a fan of. I, there's really nothing about I'm terrible, because all these actors are getting up there in years, and they won't be around much longer. But I'm terrible. I just don't care for that Peter Bradford, and it's not so much. Well, I think he's just there. I think he's just there to set up the obvious love triangle that was gonna ends up happening. Like, I just don't care for him. I don't really get his performance. It doesn't really, like, oh, this is a wonderful performance. I mean, Peter Bradford, again, he's just there, I think, for another love interest for Victoria, someone her own age, someone Victoria's own age, aside from, Burke Devon was old enough to be her father. Age appropriate romance it ends up becoming a love triangle when Peter gets to the year 1968, I think, by then. Yeah, I just didn't really care for it. I know, he helps Victoria. He represents her to try to get her free. But I always liked Victoria and Barnabas together. So yeah, that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're in the same camp as my wife. She
I don't like no. I don't like Roger Davis. I think with the
well,
other Peter Bradford was there's more context in the revival series with him. Um, but in this version, in the original series, it just, you know, I guess whatever, you know. Yeah, I just nah.
It's really, I think he's a really interesting character because I don't think
Yeah,
he's more. I don't think he's defending her just because he knows Trask is lying. Yes,
yeah. Of
there
course,
is that
yeah,
reason, but
yeah,
he's
yeah,
infatuated with Victoria.
yeah. He
He's
is.
he's
Yeah,
he's attracted to her very much.
yeah.
And I think that's something you could tell right away.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's why he's defending her.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, he wants to defend her honor for sure.
Well, yeah,
He's not just doing it to, get a date,
yeah.
but he really, I think Roger Davis does not get enough credit for his portrayal because he's a character who, in reality, and I've talked about this with 1795 too. This story, Victoria Winters at the time, like before going back
Mm-hmm.
into 1795, is the most over baby face in Dark Shadows history at that time. So they're using her
Yeah.
to to put over Barnabas. That Barnabas is your new baby face, and they made the right decision because
Mm-hmm.
here's you're not so much hearing the events through or seeing the events through Vicky's eyes of what
Mm-hmm.
happened to Barnabas. You're seeing them through the people who live them, like Barnabas, Angelique,
Mm-hmm.
Joshua,
Yeah.
Naomi,
Mm-hmm.
and Victoria is just somebody who is there and gets into a lot of trouble because, well, she doesn't belong there.
Yeah. She, it's it's like Elizabeth Collins or Collins Stoddard said, and you dig into the past, be careful what you wish for. And
Yeah,
Victoria finds that out. Well, of course, I also think that, Elizabeth didn't want Victoria to find out too much, if you know what I mean, about the past, for Elizabeth's own reasons. But, but Victoria, yeah, I mean, she had no clue at all about the reality of what went on in the year 1795. She got a rude awakening, if you will.
yeah,
She just, I mean, she's a history. She loves history. She loves the past, but she really didn't understand it until she got there. And of course, it was a shock to her system, about what happened in year 1795. Yeah,
yeah.
poor Vicky.
It's amazing how when something happens in the history book, like when Joshua writes that Barnabas went to England, I love Josette's expression, like really, like that's, but that's not what he didn't go to England. He's buried in the mausoleum,
Yeah.
and it's like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's like it's what Joshua wants, so it's what
Yeah.
Joshua's gonna get, and Josh
Yeah.
pretty much throughout
Yeah.
1795 has got his own way,
Yeah. It all
except for
came to fruition. Yeah.
yeah, except for the ability to be able to save his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best one of the best things about him too is Lewis Edmonds is Joshua is when he finds Barnabas because of Nathan, when he finds Barnabas in the old
Mm-hmm.
house, he brings him to the great house and up into the tower. He goes
Mm-hmm.
and seeks an expert to break the curse.
Mm-hmm.
That right there was your first inclination. Joshua gave a shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he realized, he wasn't the best father, before Barnabas was cursed, and he's trying to make up for all his mistakes. Of course it worked, but you know, he finally realized, I'm a horrible father. I'm a horrible husband. I have to do something to make up for it. Yeah, yeah. And
Speaking
Joshua.
speaking of horrible husbands, Lieutenant Nathan Forbes marries Millicent, and he's using
Mm.
her for his money. Were you shocked?
Yeah.
Were you shocked by that when you first watched that?
I'm still not sure what really, I mean, I know, it's like, when I, seeing those episodes, I'm still not sure, like, what happened, like, what, yeah, I mean, Nathan is a total creep. He's, you know, making a pass at Victoria. He's hanging out with, unsavory people. Yeah, he's a jerk, but in the beginning, there's really nothing that lets us know that is, you know, he's just after. Well, I mean, obviously, I guess he would be after money. But to make that complete 180 turn and abuse poor Millicent like that, it is shocking. It is shocking because they don't set him up like that. There's really not any context for him, turning out like that. Yeah, it's very, it's yeah, it's like, wow. Like, you just don't see that coming. I mean, he just becomes really horrible.
Yeah, he. It's
Oh
really
no.
interesting because the
Yeah.
reason I think sets a lot of his heel turn up is I think Nathan gets affected by Angelique's curse
Oh well, yeah.
because
Yeah,
keep
it
in
could be.
mind his personality doesn't really change until after the curse.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. Well, yeah, just, obviously, it could be that, yeah, Angelique's curse just, it does have an effect on everybody. It really, it sets off a series of events. Because again, like, yeah, there's really nothing about Nathan that says, do some horrible, you yeah, he's a womanizer. He likes money. He's got the wife back wherever she is. But to just do a complete 180. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, Angelica's curse kind of just ruins everything. You
Yeah.
know, it really does. Yeah.
What did you think of Laura Parker's performance as Angelique?
Oh God, she's wonderful. I do feel bad for Angelique. Feel bad for anyone that, you know. Yeah, I mean, I try to find something redeeming about her. And well, if you read Angelique's Descent, that's, her Angelique's side of the story in that novel. And it really makes sense. It really brings a perspective. Um, yeah, I mean, Angelique, you know, you have to feel bad for her because her whole entire world is Barnabas. It's all Barnabas, Barnabas, Barnabas. She does whatever she has to, or whatever she thinks she has to get Barnabas, who clearly never loved her. Well, so he says.
Yeah,
And well, I mean, I she does well. There are moments like she said, "Oh well, I stole Josette's clothes. I stole her jewelry. I stole her perfume. I steal her." It's like, oh my god. Well, yeah, she wants to move up the social ladder,
yeah,
and she's in love with Barnabas too. But when he's cut off by Joshua, Angelique doesn't really care.
yeah,
Because in the end, she just wanted Barnabas. She doesn't care if Barnabas is broke. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. She does. She just wanted Barnabas. She just wants to be with him. And of course, he's like, I'm stuck with her. Um, and of course, Barnabas is staying with her, so
yeah,
Angelique won't hurt Josette or hurt his family. She's so misguided.
yeah,
It has no perspective. But Laura Parker did a wonderful. I
yeah,
mean, she's fantastic as Angelique.
absolutely.
She gives Angelique some humanity. And I think Lisette Anthony in the revival series, you know, I don't know if they would have gone that way with her, giving her some humanity. She was pretty wicked off the bat. But Angelique, I mean, maybe if Barnabas, you know, hadn't broken her heart, you know, Angelique would not have turned out that way. Because again, she just wanted Barnabas. You know,
Uh,
that's all she cared about. Yeah, that's all she cared about. Yeah, but yeah, she's great. She's awesome. I love her. I
what
love
did you
Laura Parker.
What did you think of Josette's death? Her going off of Widow's Hill.
Oh, Josette, I love Josette too. You know, Kathleen Lee Scott again. She was awesome too as Josette. Um, well, yeah. Well, the one thing that I like, she's. I mean, I don't want to say she was totally hysterical, but yeah, she was hysterical. You know, just her reaction is like, you know, like I was not expecting that reaction the first time I saw it. She just totally. But then, you know, she sees a vision of herself as a vampire that would freak anyone out.
Uh,
Um, I mean, I think the camera angle was a little wonky. It just almost looks like she trips and doesn't actually fall. But you have to use your imagination that she's actually falling off. And
yeah,
God bless them though with you know with this the set they had to work with, what they had to work with back then, and making it realistic. And they did. It was just a weird camera angle, I think, her falling off. But it's so tragic and so sad because, you know, again, Barnabas's plan, you know, fell through because of Angelique. You know, he broke her heart, and she was out for revenge. But it's sad, you know, because you know Josette, I think she's only supposed to be 21, and Barnabas was actually 25. You know, yeah, it's sad that you know poor Josette ended up like that. And she probably would have been better off married to Jeremiah for the rest of her life. You know, they should have just gone off and elsewhere and stayed wherever. You know, I don't think they should have come back to Collinsport after or Collinwood after they got married. Her and Jeremiah.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, because it's all they go through all this stuff to make sure Josette doesn't, you know, commit suicide, and that she does commit suicide. It's tragic. It's horrible. And they played it beautifully. Her
yeah.
and Jonathan Frid. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
great acting all around. Or Parker too, like dry, like keeps like puts her under a spell
Sorry.
as well. What
Hmm.
What did you think of the death of Naomi?
Oh, that was horrible. That
Mm,
was horrible. Oh my God. You know, I think she took poison.
yep.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was horrible. Yeah, that was very sad. To losing your children, and yeah, I mean, I was like, well, I wish she hadn't done that, but she ends up killing herself. Yeah, it's bad. It's pretty bad. Poor Naomi. She
Yeah,
deserved better.
yeah,
She
she
deserved
did.
better. Yeah,
She
yeah.
got strapped. She got strapped with Joshua. Though. No, but um, really, just a lot of amazing characters in 1795. I mean, they
Yeah.
all do a great job. The costumes do look great, and
Oh, the costumes are beautiful.
I think one of the most unsung things about 1795 is even like the cast had been together a good while at that point, and yet to add a new character, and they don't miss a beat like at all, which is great. I think that's one of the best, most
Yeah.
fun things about 1795. You're you get to add a new character, a new actor,
Mm-hmm.
a different actress, a whole new player has come into Dark Shadows with Laura Parker, and
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
everybody is just on their game, and it's
They
so
are.
well written
They
and so
are.
well performed.
They are.
It's amazing. But is there anything you want to add before we go?
Um. Well, I think the 1795 it just set the bar,
Yep.
and like I said, I had thought about all these different fan theories, but I think that Victoria's the one that set everything off. I think she's the one that got the ball rolling when she went back in time. Yeah, because it just goes after she comes back, everything goes in a different direction.
Yeah.
She just sort of maybe changed a few things, or yeah, Vicky. It's all Vicky's fault. No, I love Victoria.
Well,
It's a great storyline. Yeah, yeah, it's
right.
awesome.
Her journey is not Phyllis Wick's journey, and I think that's one of the most amazing things too.
Yeah,
Barnabas
yeah.
says about it. He says Phyllis Wick was there the night his coffin went to the mausoleum. So Phyllis Wick knew for certain
Uh,
Barnabas died. Victoria went
mhm.
to jail, got taken to the jail prior to Barnabas being bitten.
Yeah,
So again, there's a huge difference between their journeys.
yeah.
Again, it's really, really amazing.
It is. It's the best. It's it did set the bar high for for other storylines. Um, and they did like the 1897 storyline was good too. The 1840 storyline, of course, that wrapped everything up, and then they went into parallel time. But yeah, it's an awesome storyline. I think we all can all agree.
It is.
It's our favorite storyline for everyone. Yeah, yeah, I
It's a,
love it.
it's definitely worth checking out. I'm going to leave. I forgot to leave a link to the 1795 trailer in the last video I did, so I'll
Ah.
leave that link here in the description box for everybody. First of all, Lisa, thank you for coming,
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you
joining
so
me, and
much.
talking 1795 and the costumes with me. Um,
Oh, awesome. You're
I had
welcome.
fun. So
Me too.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You have a good
Thank you
night.
too. You too. Thank you. Bye.